Welcome back to Anvilquested, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and as you can see, our new squaddies are suited up and training down here with the other Marks dwarves. Now, this is only going to be temporary. Eventually, I'm going to build them their own barracks and shooting gallery down in the deeps, because that is where they're going to be based. But before we get into the details, let's profile a dwarf. Number 177. That's one of our later dwarves. 177 is Toadface. Only his second episode in the fortress, and already he's being profiled. Or she, perhaps. Who knows? Toadface. Toadface is a girl. Toadface is the wife of Daramos, the daughter of Catnip and Micus, the older sister of Aerith, our legendary child. That must be tough, you know, growing up in the shadow of your younger sister. She is the niece of wife of Baldur, Malinor, Ara, Bucephalus, and Morin, and the cousin of Barry Lefreak, Mina Moonheart II, Balarin, and that's it. Bunch of friends, no enemies. Lovely, that's how I like them. Okay. Toadface. Toadface Lore Bamreg, or Toadface Standard Glove, is a 23-year-old dwarf of the unassigned faction. Within the last week, she felt satisfied at work, horrified after witnessing death 62 times, nothing after witnessing death 8 times, and interest seeing a very fine door. Within the last season, she felt bliss after sleeping in a very good bedroom, contentment after having a fine drink, bliss dining in a legendary dining room, interest seeing a fine seat, interest seeing a fine table, irritation to be wearing old clothing. I've got Fyodor and Blekto Bagum working on that right now. Interest seeing a very fine statue, interest seeing a tastefully arranged superior statue, interest seeing a tastefully arranged completely sublime bed. That must be one nice bed. And contentment after having a wonderful drink. She is a competent furnace operator and an adequate herbalist, although rusty. The highest mutable skill is Weaver, and I did not even know that Weaver was a mutable skill, so that is something new. She is rarely happy or enthusiastic. She tends to avoid any physical confrontations. She does not feel the slightest need to reciprocate favors that others do for her. She does not generally seek retribution for past wrongs. She generally acts impartially and is rarely moved to mercy. So she's not very emotional, basically. She doesn't hold grudges, and she doesn't generally feel like being generous. She tends to be a bit stubborn, though, in changing her mind. She's made deeply uncomfortable by differences in culture or appearance, so she's kind of conservative. She tries to keep things orderly. She is assertive, though not emotional. Interesting. She likes to keep things practical without delving too deeply into the abstract. She finds the pursuit of skill mastery off-putting. She is put off by merrymaking. She does not respect the law. She thinks that the pursuit of martial skills is a low pursuit. Good thing we did not recruit her into the military. And she dreams of creating a great work of art. Her phrase is, "I finished up some work. I am very satisfied." She is corpulent. Her hair is extremely long. Her teeth are tangled. Her nose bridge is somewhat concave. Her hair is chestnut. Her skin is copper. Her eyes are copper. Toadface likes kimberlite, bismuth bronze, levin opal, peachwood, wood, I guess, leggings, crowns, ducks for their quacks, and squidmen for their ability to spray ink. Those are two I have not seen before. When possible, she prefers to consume dwarven beer and finger limes. She absolutely detests purring maggots. As do we all, Toadface. As do we all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put up in the background the image, the masterfully designed image by Dwarf Comic, which menaces with spikes of awesomeness of Kushnor, our rabbit forgotten beast, who managed to take out 2 of our dwarves before expiring 2 episodes ago. So gaze in wonder at this majestic image, and thank you very much to Dwarf Comic for drawing it. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. Alright, moving on. I've done a few things to the fortress in terms of organization. I've got wooden bolt production started again because our new Marksdwarf squads are going to be using wooden bolts in both combat and training, because that's the way to get them skilled up as soon as possible. Why do I want them skilled up as soon as possible? Well, because Anvilquested, ladies and gentlemen, has a plan. And I will go over that in just a moment. But for right now, I want to show you some more organization. Because I lost some productive dwarves into the military, I have changed all of my stone stockpiles. Some of them have 2 wheelbarrows, and some of them have 1. I would like them all to have 1, but the reason why some of them have 2 is because some of them are actually 2 stockpiles in 1, so the minimum you can have per stockpile is 1. But I've reduced the number of wheelbarrows drastically because I want less dwarves to be tasked to go and move stone around. We have plenty of stone. Really, the only use for stone that we have right now is making crafts, which, by the way, I have transitioned Yossarian from crafts over to mugs, since mugs have been highly requested, and who am I to deny my viewers? So Yossarian is now going to be making masterful mugs to export out to the world. It's going to say, I fought a forgotten beast in Anvilquested, and all I got was this stupid mug. And maybe I'll have Grumzub make lead mugs. Who knows? We could be the mug capital of the world. I don't know. But that's what we're doing. Up here, we're expanding our storage areas. Down here, we have a storage area for buckets, because I noticed that we had quite a few of them. They're useful for feeding animals, for holding lye, if you're making soap, which we are, for tending to injured dwarves. So I just made a ton of buckets, probably more than I need, but this is where they're going to go. Cages here. Down here is where we're going to put all of the fortress's clothes, because I noticed that all the clothes is going up here, and not only is there not enough room for it, but I want to separate it out from trade goods. I don't want to trade my clothes. I was thinking of trading the really crappy clothes, but the plugin for Dwarf Hack, or DF Hack, is already putting all the crappy clothes down in my Dwarven Atom Smasher, so I don't need to trade them. And this way, if I move everything down here, it reduces the likelihood that Morin will accidentally engrave one of our old raggedy pieces of clothing with beautiful gems, and instead focus on our mugs. So, I fought a forgotten beast at Anvilquested, and all I got was this stupid gem-encrusted mug. It's too bad we can't make t-shirts. I've also opened up another area for food because we're running out, as you can see. Obviously not finished food or drinks, which only go to our dining halls, and obviously not seeds, since those only go to our farming area. We are getting so much leather and food from trade with the homeland that I'm going to drastically reduce our turkey and animal supply. It was a fun experiment, but frankly, the game just isn't optimized these days. Unless you're running like NASA's supercomputer, there is no way that you can have a full 200 dwarves, as well as, 50 to 60 animals, 50 to 60 turkeys. The game just can't handle it. So, the idea of surviving purely on your own, with leather of your own making, is a wonderful idea, but its time has not yet come. Either computers need to radically expand in terms of their capabilities, or Toady needs to get in here and instead of adding new features, needs to actually optimize the features that he already has to make this game run faster. Now there's some ways you can do that. You can make it work with multiple cores. That would certainly be wonderful. I don't think there's much you could do with a graphics card, but I'm not a programmer. But I'm sure there are ways. If I can play Skyrim, I should be able to play Dwarf Fortress. And I understand that there's a lot of thinking going on, and each item having to have its own pathing and all such makes a difference, but that's the situation. So I'm probably going to be slaughtering a lot of my animals, and this will free up my laborers to do more necessary tasks, and it will probably give us a few extra FPS, which is really great. Okay. So what's going on, Marcus? What's the plan? Well, in order to explain the plan to you, I have to tell you a little bit of the story. You see, Anvilquested, as we know it, was kind of a front. It was meant to look like a dwarven settlement. It was meant to look like your everyday mountain home. But Anvilquested was formed way back in the beginning with a purpose. It's actually a joint purpose from our civilization, the Ageless Manor, and the other dwarven civilization. You see, what happened was we noticed, or the civilizations noticed, that the goblins in recent years have become more organized, more dangerous. They've been using tactics, making smart decisions, carrying better weapons and better armor. And the dwarven kings and queens were trying to figure out why this was happening. We sent out many spies across the world, and what we discovered was that the goblin civilizations are being ruled by demons, by creatures from the underworld. We never thought such a place even existed. We thought it was only in myths and legends, but like dragons and forgotten beasts, apparently not all myths and legends are untrue. There are some that are actually very true. And so what's happened is these demons have escaped their underworld prison in these pillars, and they have taken over the goblin civilizations and have made them more dangerous. So it was determined that we could not just go on and let this pass. We had to do something. We needed more information. Many hill dwarves died to bring us this information. So what it was determined was that Anvilquested would be found in secret, with a purpose that no one knew about except for, obviously, the 7 initial migrants and the kings and nobles and queens of the 2 dwarven civilizations. It was meant to blend in. It was meant to look like a regular mountain home. It was meant to have animals and crops in order to give the appearance that it was just a settlement. But in reality, the purpose of Anvilquested was to dig deep, gather intelligence about the possible entry into this underworld, and if possible, to strike out against it. Visitors to Anvilquested often noted that the military seemed strangely large and strangely elite for a small backwoods militia. It was also noted that everyone at Anvilquested was unusually happy. Dwarves didn't tantrum. They didn't throw fits. They didn't break the furniture. There wasn't even a need for a sheriff. Visitors kind of looked at each other and said, what a weird place. Well, the reason for all this is that every single dwarf in this fortress is not really a colonist at all, but actually a member of a special forces cadre of the dwarven civilizations. They all know their mission, and the ideal was they were going to pretend to be a normal mountain home just to fool the other nearby civilizations for 10 years. But during that time, they were going to dig deep, gather intelligence, and see what's going on with trying to find out where these demons are coming from. So where we are at this moment is deep down in the magma sea. We have discovered a strange blue metal. And legends tell us, old legends from the founding of the world, that this strange metal, while very easy for dwarves to dig into, it's very light, very fluffy, almost like cotton candy, is apparently something that demons cannot stand. And it has been posited by old and wise dwarves that these pillars of this metal delve down all the way into the underworld. So, the plan, as it stands, now that Anvilquested has discovered this, is they intend to create what I can only describe as a floor of death above this pillar. And this floor is going to have numerous ways to potentially destroy demons. It's going to have spikes that are commanded by levers. It's going to have blind turns where Mark's dwarves can shoot unmolested. It's going to have cave-in traps. It is going to be basically designed to be an obstacle course to kill demons. Now, no dwarves have ever even seen demons or fought them, so we don't even know if this is going to work. But this is the plan. If all else fails, if the plan does not work, if the fortress looks like it's going to be overrun, we will have contingencies in place to lock as many gates made out of steel or whatever material requires to preserve the world above. Our military is ready to sacrifice themselves to the last dwarf, as are our citizens. We came here with a purpose, and we will fulfill that purpose, even at the cost of our lives. So, in the next 3 years, Anvilquested is going to go onto war footing. We are going to be producing steel as our main priority. We are going to be then utilizing that steel to make spikes and bolts. Marcus Aurelius is going to be handling that. And we are going to begin construction on this floor of traps and death and chaos. We are also going to try, to the best of our ability, to dig out and utilize this substance, hopefully without disturbing the portal down into the deeps, because we feel that it perhaps will enable our dwarves to stand up against the terrors that lie below more effectively. The plan, however, is not really to get our dwarves involved in melee combat. From what the Hill Dwarf spies have told us, these demons, even alone, are a formidable force that can slaughter entire armies. They are not to be taken lightly. So we're going to make it work as best we can so that our Mark's dwarves can, from relative safely, attack them, where we can use the terrain and the environment against them, but our melee dwarves are only going to be sent in as a last resort. And so now you know. Gentle and loyal viewer, this is, what is this now, mid-40s episode? So I know that everybody who's still watching is people I can trust, so this secret can be shared with you. But in the next 3 years, Anvilquested will go on as normal. We will fight off goblin invasions. We will fight off forgotten beasts. We will just bide our time, dig, and produce. And then, after the 10-year mark has come, if we are ready, we shall embark upon our final and true purpose. So I hope to have all of your support, and I hope that we shall be successful. So once again, I am Marcus Aurelius. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.